Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's great to see all of you on this beautiful spring day in Utah. Thank you for joining us for the first Built Here Nuclear Summit. We are so grateful to see so many of you who have traveled long distances to be with us. Thank you for joining us. Now, if you look out these windows, and again, we want to thank our hosts today for taking such good care of us. It is a gorgeous day out there. You can see why a few years ago, Four-Door Travel magazine named us the #1 travel destination in the entire world. This is why. This is Utah. But I want to take you back today a little over 180 years ago, when this valley was pretty much empty, and there was a westward expansion happening in the United States, but nobody was coming here, and for good reason. I want to read you some of the descriptions of this valley at that time. It's pretty bleak, I'm not going to lie. Here are the words that were written. Hard-packed soil, light precipitation, hot summers, frigid winters, limited fresh water, sparse vegetation to sustain livestock, dust storms turn day into night. Early visitors mainly described it as a barren wasteland. It was an arid, untamed, and unforgiving land. Jim Bridger, famously the explorer, he bet $1,000 that no one would be able to produce a bushel of corn in this area. So what changed? Well, a bunch of people who didn't feel like they could go anywhere else came here and told that they couldn't survive here, did it anyway. That's what built Utah. That's what made Utah this very special place that it is today. It's what has made us the #1 economic destination in the entire country for 18 years in a row. It's what made us the #1 state overall for the last 3 years in a row. It's about a people who believe in something bigger than themselves, people who are dedicated to actually getting stuff done, to making stuff work, even when it seems impossible to do so. That entrepreneurial spirit, that innovative spirit that comes from just trying to survive is what is in our DNA and what our ancestors have left us here in, again, now a world destination to come, a place that was a barren wasteland, now a place where everyone wants to visit, wants to stay, and wants to do business. So we find ourselves at an interesting time in the world. Just yesterday, my uncle and his family are traveling to Portugal, a place he lived in 40 years ago and hasn't been back, and really excited to take his family until he wasn't, till the lights went out and wouldn't come back on for a long time, and nobody could figure out what was going on. Tens of millions of people without power and the chaos that came because of that. I wake up this morning to a podcast about whether this is the 100 years of China. This is the Chinese time. The United States may have lost its way, that the United States may no longer be the world superpower, and that we're going through a time of handing off that distinction to China. Experts, this is Derek Thompson's podcast this morning. Some of you may be familiar with Derek. He just wrote a book on abundance, a left-leaning book on abundance, and he's asking these experts, are we still the country, or is it China? And these experts believe and are making an argument that, yes, we may be witnessing, for the first time in a long time, a handoff from one superpower to another as we lose our status. It's easy to get discouraged. Certainly when it comes to the energy discussion, we are in an energy crisis. I will tell you there's not a governor in the country that thinks we're doing okay when it comes to energy. They know that we're falling behind. There's been a complete mind shift just in the past year in a way I haven't seen probably in my lifetime, at least maybe since I was very young. This acknowledgement that we have to do more, that we have to do better. And we're here to talk about nuclear, so let's talk about nuclear. Now, this is a big year for me. It's the year I turned 50. So 1975 was a pretty great year, at least as far as my life is concerned. If you look at what we did before 1975 as a country when it comes to nuclear, it's incredible. It's almost unbelievable. over 100 nuclear reactors approved in some form of construction prior to 1975. Post-1975, we had two. That's what it looks like. 50 years, two. That's what we're talking about. This is how long it's been since we actually did this stuff. It's a time of profound stupidity in our country, where we made a conscious decision, by the way, that we were not going to do the stuff that made us the envy of the world. Now, where do we stand today vis-a-vis China and the nuclear renaissance? Well, China right now has 30 nuclear reactors under construction, 34 gigawatts of power. They have 36 nuclear reactors that are in the pipeline for an additional 38 gigawatts of power. An additional 158 proposed nuclear reactors for 186 gigawatts of power. How many reactors do we have under construction right now? You're looking at him. One, poured concrete. That's it. Easy to get discouraged. And yet, we are here because of choices we made as a country. And we have an opportunity to make different choices. Now, we're very fortunate to have an administration who understands that we have to start building nuclear again. We're fortunate to have a Congress who does virtually nothing, but they do believe in a bipartisan way that we need to start building nuclear again. We're fortunate to live in a time where red states and blue states are starting to see the vision that we need to start building nuclear again, that we actually can make different choices, that we can decide that this next decade is not going to be the decade of China. It is still going to be our decade. But that's only going to happen if bold and courageous people are willing to do some hard things, like the people who settled this place. Willing to lift again, willing to build again. I've shared this story. I know some of you have heard it before. I apologize, but it left such an impression on me as a teenager working for my uncle doing construction work. I got the assignment to go tear down an old barn, and if you've never torn down a building or a barn, I hope you all get an opportunity to do it someday. It is a rush unlike just about anything else you're experiencing. It started with a sledgehammer and ended with a backhoe, and I got to do all of it. It didn't take long. It took a couple hours to knock that thing down, and watching those walls fall, it's exhilarating. And at the time, as a dumb teenager, I didn't think much about it. I just loved that I got the opportunity to go knock some stuff down. It wasn't until years later that I started thinking about the people who built that barn and the sacrifices that they made, and how long it took, and how hard it must have been, how long they saved in a very small, very poor town, the neighbors that inevitably came together to help put that barn up, to build that barn, everything that went into that place that stood for 80 years. And then how much fun it was to just knock it down. Look, we live in a time when it's very, very easy to tear stuff down. It's easy to criticize, and everybody's good at it. We have new tools to do it. We have social media. We get to make fun of anybody who tries anything, anybody who's willing to take risks. It's so easy to tear down, and it's exhilarating. There's a dopamine rush that comes from that. It's so much harder to build. But I feel fortunate to live in a state of 3.5 million people who still believe in building. I feel so fortunate to live in a state where we have a legislature who looks beyond not just the election cycle, but looks decades ahead and still believes in building. I feel grateful to be in a room of people today who are entrepreneurs, business leaders, community leaders, people who still believe in building. I'm grateful that there is a mind shift happening in our country where people are starting to realize that we need to build again. An article just yesterday saying that the center left is trying to steal abundance from the center right. I like that fight. If we're arguing about who has the best abundance agenda, America is going to do just fine. I'm grateful to live in a region with other governors, like the governors of Wyoming and Idaho, whom you'll get to see a little bit later today, who also believe in building. We have a unique opportunity right now. It's been a long time. In fact, I think you probably have to go back to the early 70s when we had the capital to build large-scale energy projects and the will to actually get it done. Those two things are coming together in a magical way. But it's not going to happen everywhere, and it's not going to happen for everyone. Fortune favors the bold, and fortune favors the early movers and the early adopters. And that's why we have asked you all here today, because we believe that this place and this region is the place where building can happen again, especially when it comes to nuclear. We understand that by investing today, even if it takes a while, and hopefully it takes a lot less while with the new administration who understands that we need to change the regulatory scheme, everything post-1975 that made it impossible to do, we have to get back to that mindset and start building again. But that this is the place where all of those things come together. And we're not just talking about nuclear reactors. Let me be very clear. We're not just talking about building energy for Utah residents so that they can thrive, so that businesses can grow, so that they can pay less for electricity over time. We want all of those things, don't get me wrong. But we also want to be the center of excellence for the world. Again, not just nuclear reactors. We're talking about mining uranium, which we do here in the state of Utah. We're talking about enrichment. We're talking about manufacturing. We're talking about research. And we're talking about people, human capital, the workforce, to do all that needs to be done so that we can export not just our energy to the rest of the country and the world, which we should always be thinking about and doing, but so that we can export our knowledge to the rest of the world, our entrepreneurship, our innovation. That's what makes Utah special. That's who we are, and that's what the world needs now more than ever. So on behalf of the 3.5 million people that I am honored to represent, I want to thank you for the part you're playing in helping us build again. There is a nuclear renaissance happening, and it's happening right here in the state of Utah. Thank you for joining us today, and may God bless you in this great work. Thank you.